a few things to start with that there's a demand for, and like build your shop around that. And once you get rolling and you have some revenue coming in, then you can get creative and get making on other stuff, make more stuff.
Yeah, and that's one of the things our group, Precious Plastic LA, that we've been brainstorming right now is like, what molds do we want to make? What's the next thing that we want to get building? And I definitely don't want to take garbage and make more garbage out of it. Something right. Like, oh, here, take this thing, and it'll quickly end up in a dumpster anyways. The more that it can be something that someone's going to want to keep for a long time or has a useful purpose is going to be better.
What are you guys finding that, what are some of your kind of focus items right now, or is anything sort of solidifying as it might be a focus item to produce?
And Jasmine, she joined in. She's a product designer who's on our team as well, so she can chime in. Trying to think what I mean. We've like talked about coasters. We've talked about some of the drawer pulls that.
Yeah, people are just having like a lot of different ideas that they, I don't know, could have like a personal use, but also like more of for the community too. We talked about bowls and coasters, and the latest things were kind of, I don't know, gears for camping or tools that you can use to eat, or I don't know, it's just been like really all over the place. One thing that I thought was kind of cool was that if we could make something like a station where we could get more plastic, and we could have that in different places around our community, just kind of like explaining what precious plastic is, and maybe this collecting device could actually be made with one of our machines with the plastic, and kind of to give people like the idea, this is how it looks like, and this is what we can do with plastic if you recycle it here, and I think that could be like an interesting way of involving more of the community, because now it looks like Precious Plastic LA has been really involved with companies and working with them, right, Marcus?
Yeah, so far. Yeah, well, should we, maybe a few more people joined in, so maybe we want to just go first and have an introduction for everyone. I presume we might continue to get more people popping on, and maybe we'll ask people to introduce themselves as well. But if everyone wants to just, take a minute or so and introduce who you are, where you're located, what's your interest in precious plastic, if you've already done anything, that sort of stuff. So I'm happy to start. So I'm Marcus Rosenthal. I started Precious Plastic Los Angeles, just kind of November-ish time frame. We've essentially had 2 meetings, but then we did go ahead and start building some machines, because one of our members already had bought some shredder parts, and then I wanted to build it anyways. And then because I put a flag on the Precious Plastic website that said we were a machine builder in Los Angeles, I got contacted by Parlay for the Oceans, and they're like, we want to bring some of the Precious Plastic machines to an event in Los Angeles in a few weeks. Can you help us out? And they delayed, and then we had 10 days to build a shredder and 2 injectors, and we did get it done. It was a little stressful, but so we've learned a lot there. That was like 2 weeks ago. And so now we've been mainly trying to decide what's next and what molds. And I did actually get reached out to now by another interesting one, and even this whole community might be able to help support him, is Jaden Smith. Like, he has his Just Water, and he's super excited about precious plastic and wants to engage the community and build products and help promote it for all of us. So I'll kind of leave it at that. Obviously, I don't know if maybe we'll go in at least the order that it's on my screen. I didn't catch your name, that it shows up as DSALA. Oh, you got to unmute. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm like still logged into like a volunteer group's like corporate account, and I'm just not signing off. My name's Jenna. I'm also in Los Angeles. I found out about this like a couple hours ago when my friend was trying to raise money for his friend doing it in Portland. So I was like, oh, let's do it here. Oh, there's a group. Okay, cool. Oh, there's a call in an hour. Great. So I just started out of nowhere. That's it.
Great. And then Gia, I know you've introduced yourself, but for everyone else here.
It's Gaia, like
Gaia, sorry.
from Greek mythology, like Mother Earth. So I live in Rolla, Missouri. I've been here for about a year now. I lived in California for 21 years before that. So just kind of coming here, I'm seeing just, oh my goodness, this place is like 30 years behind on recycling compared to West Coast, where, you know, just about anywhere you could recycle any type of plastic. Like you would have a general bin and every type of plastic would go in there. In most areas or some areas, you know, you would have like paper and glass, like separate containers, and then something else for plastic. But anyway, so I'm just right now trying to figure out, should I go with like a small business kind of model, or should I do this as part of like the county or the city services that are provided? But for the most part, just putting an overall business plan together right now and figuring out which useful plastic items to produce and working my way back from that, and you know, how to build the whole shop and the whole operation around that. And part of my idea is to get schools and like parks and rec involved, and because of that I want to focus a lot on plastic lumber, because like playground equipment can be built with plastic lumber, and also at schools like benches and also lunch trays, which are not out of lumber, but like just plastic trays. And part of the idea is that kids and just people going to parks, like they will see these things every day, and then maybe, you know, they'll learn about, oh, this is from this plastics recycling project, and this is actually made in our community. This isn't like from somewhere else. And also I want to go to farmers markets with the whole idea, you know, with pamphlets, with products made, so that, you know, the whole like community outreach will keep happening, you know, and like products will be shown so that people will start to get more into it and will, you know, be more exposed, it become like more of an everyday thing. So that's my take on it so far.
Great. Jasmine, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I don't know if it's like super loud here. I'm just at a Starbucks. Is it? Can you guys hear me well?
We can hear you okay.
Oh, okay. All right. So, hi, my name is Jasmine Druffner. I graduated recently in product design. I have a minor sustainability. I'm located in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Germany and Brazil, and I've been living here for 5 years. And yeah, I come from a very small community in Brazil, and people are very conscious about their resources that they have there. And that's kind of what I've been trying to study more when I came here to the US. And that's why I was like so interested in sustainability and product design. And I heard about precious plastic maybe a month ago, and that's when I started hitting up Marcus and going to one meeting and just trying to be more taking place more and more in, you know, this tiny community that's starting to grow and flourish.
You designed our awesome logo.
Yeah, that was actually fun. That was really cool. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just like very interested to see what kind of people are interested and you know, and see how I can contribute more and, you know, learn who you guys are too.
Okay, great. Xander, I think you're another experience builder, right?
Hey, how's it going? What was that?
You built some machines, correct? Also?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
Actually,
okay.
yeah, so let's see. I'll just start from the beginning. I'm Xander, as you can probably see on the screen, and I found out about precious plastic maybe 6 months ago, a little more, and it didn't, you know, it was really, really cool, but I just was like, everyone's doing a lot of things that are a lot alike, and I just don't see a niche in the market. And then Oregon stopped accepting plastics for recyclables. You can't put them on your curb and have them picked up anymore. So when that happened, I said, maybe people will finally care. Because I see a lot of people in other countries really caring because it directly affects them, but we're hiding our recycled plastics here in America. And so I thought, maybe now that they have 2 trash cans instead of paying for 1 trash can, people in the community will care. So I'm in Oak Ridge, Oregon, about 50 minutes outside of Eugene, and I'm starting a community. I want to have a place where people can both recycle their own plastics, but I want to develop, much like you guys were talking about, really usable projects, not knickknacks that, are going to be great for a minute and then tossed aside and forgotten, but really usable products. And right now, I just recently got a grant to, get some, pretty much live on while I'm writing my business plan. I'm a student. I'm an information technology student. I deal with servers and software development, but my minor is in business, so I'm using the business side right now. And like I said, currently pursuing grants. I've received one and looking to get started. So the next step in my project, which I'm calling Oregon Upcycle, because I don't want anything to be recycled. I want it to be turned into something useful and leave the chain. So yep, I'm a student, Oregon Upcycle, and looking to get some machines soon. I'm not mechanical, so I'll be purchasing my machines straight out, ready to use most likely.
Okay, great. Harold, is that? Oh, you're muted. Bottom left.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? So, introduce myself, I guess. Yeah, so I was referred by Garrett Cadu. I was at the Adidas event. I believe you were there, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like right next to you. I was working as a brand ambassador. I mean, I'm really new to the whole thing, so there's really not much for me to say. I kind of just, I'm interested in it. I think it's an amazing concept. Like I'm all for recycling and the environment. So I kind of just want to learn more. And yeah, so I'm like I'm talking back and forth with Garrett Cadu to see where I might fit in. And yeah, I'm just here to learn.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
And Matt, I know you started to introduce yourself earlier, but if you want to say hi for everyone else.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Matt, and pretty much I'm here to learn as well. I do not currently, have any machines or started any projects yet, but I really would like to get started in the near future. I discovered Precious Plastic several months ago, and I became inspired by it. I thought it was just a fantastic idea and something that needs to spread, particularly here in the South, where it can be kind of backwards. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, forgot to mention that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like trying to find a way to make an impact, a difference. And, if I can make a business out of it, because I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I'm always looking for a way to survive a little bit better. But yeah, that's just me.
Great. And Corey, it looks like you're driving. We don't want you to be too dangerous here, but if you want to introduce yourself. Oh, he's muted. So maybe Carter, if you want to. Are you there, Carter?
Yeah, I'm going to introduce Carter because he's at work.
Okay.
But I said, if you're able to listen to podcasts, you're able to listen to a Zoom call if you hide the screen. So he's listening. He's friends with Emma, who's trying to get it started in Portland. So, sorry, what? No, okay. So yeah, he's at work. He might not have a lot of time to devote to this, but just it's a cool concept. So figured we would both be on the call, and he's in Los Angeles, a bunch of us. So. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Great. And Corey, if you are able to unmute, then feel free. But if not, we don't want you to crash while you're on the video call. You could just give us a thumbs up. So yeah, I mean, I was just intending it's gonna be an open forum. I guess as we Precious Plastic LA are the main ones who started building some stuff, I'm happy to share with all of you kind of what we've learned so far and our approach. If that's of interest, or if anyone has other questions, we can certainly steer it other ways. Do you want me to just ramble a little?
Well, yeah, I would love to hear you ramble. The only way I can speak is if I turn off my video because it knows I'm driving. So,
okay.
but I'm just really interested in the whole idea of repurposing your plastic to make new things, and I'm trying to figure out a way to do that with like 3D printers and things like that.
Okay. And where are you located, Corey? Oh, no problem.
I'm located in Malibu.
Oh, Malibu. Okay, you're around here too. You guys just approved the plastic straw and disposable plastics ban. That was a good thing.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
Matt Dowdle, I didn't catch your talents.
You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I had to get back to that. Talents, I'm pretty capable. I mean, with my hands, I own a concrete construction company at the moment.
Okay.
Doing restoration. Also have my wife operates a online marketplace. It's called ChangeCo, dealing with sorry, you put me on the spot. My mind went blank. Dealing with sustainable items, social items, things of that nature. You can check it out.
Super cool.
.us. So I help her manage and run that business. I have a degree in psychology and leadership, organizational leadership. So I don't know. I'm a jack of all trades. I can pretty much do mine
That's
too.
fantastic. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I'm happy to go ahead and share more kind of where we're at to get, and help others get off the ground and save time and money where possible, and help people who maybe don't have the know-how of doing some of these builds. So yeah, so for me, my background is mechanical engineering. I've done some manufacturing and stuff with materials, built manufacturing equipment and stuff before. So I saw this as an exciting project to like, oh, cool, I can get back into that and do it. And we haven't formed an official organization. Like, I haven't filed any business filings yet. We intend to do it as a nonprofit, but I think it's probably a couple $1,000s to actually go and do that, which I intend to do soon, but we're kind of more just been bringing the community together, see if there's something real there, and we clearly have got that. So
I wonder if you can get a grant there.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to get some stuff, but it's always like how much time it takes to apply and win it, and it's like I could probably get one in 6 months, but it's like we kind of need to form it now, and I think we've been managing to get a few projects, and that's interesting. So I mean, so what might even be easiest, I'm gonna just kind of share with you guys some of my Google Photos so you can kind of see some of the stuff we've built. So this was just kind of going through a few of the things. So we managed to get into this clean tech incubator where they had a machine shop and welding. So this is like our little frame that we got welded up. I don't actually even know how to weld. so we managed to get them. But what I did find, so for any of you who want to like build something but need something made and welded, most of the shops that sell the metal, like steel shops, will weld for you. So like probably it would cost like $300 to $500 to get this same frame welded, and you could literally bring them like the design drawings of the precious plastic and get them to make it for you. The challenge is that everything in precious plastic is in metric, and you go to especially a steel shop, like they don't even have a ruler that's in metric.
Yeah.
So you need to translate that, and some people have already done it, but like literally if you print it out, you could probably go ahead and just cross out each thing and write it like, okay, don't use 30 millimeter tubing, use 1 1/4 inch tubing, those kinds of things, and then they'll listen to you.
So you didn't do you have that somewhere already written down, converted, possibly?
I don't know, because we still did it in metric, because we did this ourselves, and even the machine shop we that we were working with, they did it. I know some people have converted the shredder parts into the inch, because like for example, for a shredder, if you're gonna go, so like this is the shredder, and if you're gonna get these made here, they're made out of stainless steel, and like steel's based on gauges, and gauges is like certain thicknesses in an inch standard. So like the precious plastic one, I think there was 3, 4, and 6 millimeter, or 5 maybe also. There was a few different millimeter thickness specified steels, and we had actually, someone had ordered this from someone on the Precious Plastic Bazaar, and like the width of these blades was supposed to be 5 millimeters, but when I go and measured them, they were actually 4.5. So then, because this plate here that was kind of on the outer edges was supposed to be that same length as a stack up of a bunch of 5 millimeter ones, it didn't come in exactly right. So definitely the inch to metric conversion kind of screwed us, but not that bad. We basically just had to machine that plate down a little extra, and then that's why we added these little threaded studs with these metal spacers here. So you just kind of have to know how to do some of those things to and it's certainly not easy. I mean, I'm happy to help people out here either figure out ways to get it done with what you do have resources to, or we can machine stuff for others, or I can point you to like how to find or talk to a shop. And so we ended up, I ended up getting this gearbox from a friend who just had it. Like I sent him, this is a guy who like tinkers with cars and just has all sorts of used equipment. So I sent him the spec that's like there's no real spec on the Precious Plastic site for what the motor is. It's kind of like it's something about 2 horsepower. And so I sent that over to him, and he's like, oh, well, I have this. It's like a Dodge gearbox. So that's a 60-to-1 gear reducer. So that takes like this fast spinning motor and then makes it a lot slower here. And like 1750 RPM is the kind of a standard that you get on motors. So it ended up that I put that at full speed, get it to here, that's about 30 RPM. And Dave says you want about 60. So then I sped it up with a 3-to-1 gear ratio here. So that's why we put a gear onto it. And
is that so you can get enough torque to chop up the plastic? Yeah,
well, he recommended that speed, and we actually think we might want to run it slower to get a little more torque. We still need to actually further test it. So this we've successfully shredded like plastic cups, like the little beer cups and plastic lids. But when we put thicker things in, and I could show you more of the finished version of it. Let's see if I can get to it.
I actually have a question. Like, what's the thickest item that we're able to shred with these, or with most of these?
So that's where I think you can shred a lot thicker than we were successful doing, which So we ended up going with a 1.5 horsepower motor, which this thing is giant. It's like no small motor. It heats up, it takes a ton of power. And we thought with the 60-to-1 gearbox that we were gonna be able to just crank through anything. We're like, oh, we're way overpowered because the torque's gonna be up. But it was still stalling on us a bit. But we used this box, which is called a VFD, variable frequency drive, which is like, it was funny, at the Adidas event, there was some like old electrician guy there, and he was so happy we were using a VFD. It's kind of like a way that normally when you like turn on a motor, there's like a huge current spike, and then it comes down, and that's what like will kill all sorts of circuit breakers. But a VFD helps the motor do like a soft start. It was like $250, and takes a little more know-how to program it. I commissioned one of our guys, and my dad were working on that. But it was a helpful thing, and that gives you a lot more fine speed controls, and that let us, so we had like forward, reverse. We even put a little jog, so it was like if it clogged, if there's a jam, we could do like a slow forward, reverse, and there's a lot of other things you could do with it. We're totally not using it to its best use yet, but and the big thing, actually the big reason why we wanted to go with that is that I'm hoping to put these like in a trailer that I could maybe take on the go to schools or stuff like that. And I was like, oh, they're not always going to have 3-phase power, which is what most motors run on. So this could run off a generator. It does need 208 or 208 to 250 power, but that's like what a dryer usually uses, and that's a lot more common. So that's what a VFD can let you do, is run a 3-phase motor off a single phase. We're kind of curious that if a motor for a hoist, like that you would have in a shop, that you would like hoist up an engine, because those run pretty slow. They might already have the gearbox, and you can get them for like $200 to $300. We're thinking that might be a better solution, because this was about $250 for this motor. This was about $400 for the gearbox, and that was like $250. So, you're getting up in price pretty quickly. Not nearly at the low cost that Dave kind of claims everything to be. So that was that. We had to, as well, even challenges like getting a 27mm shaft, and then after the fact we had to add this gear on, and we had already like turned the shaft down the wrong way, so we had to like add in some little welding, just little fun things we had to do. That's kind of the main stuff. Oh, I think here's a little video of our shredder. It's not the sexiest video. We're gonna try and shoot another one tomorrow. Yeah, so the event we were at, like we were literally like 50 feet from like a stage that they had like the biggest sound system you'll ever see. So that was kind of a lot of stuff going on. And we were making these little keychains that said Adidas and Parlay. We ended up, because we didn't have enough time to get our mold made. So like here's the injector. I can talk about that too. But we ended up just making some little silicone rubber molds. I actually have some here too. That it's kind of a way to rapid prototype molds. So basically it's just like this. We 3D printed a part. So here's like, this was the Adidas Parlay part, and then there was the basketball, and you just basically pour the silicone, stick the 3D printed part in, let it dry. And then silicone, because it has a high temperature resistance, you can put the plastics that are at, a couple 100 degrees Celsius in here, and it doesn't melt them. So
was that like, sorry.
Go ahead.
Was that like a pressurized injection then? I'm not guessing, or is like just like squirting it into the silicone mold? How did you pull
Yeah,
that?
we didn't really use the injector the way you would intend it to be used. So here,
Right.
I'll show you the video. It's a little kind of quick one. Let me put it back on screen. Hold on. Okay. So this is like a little video. Again, we need to shoot a better one that wasn't just at the event, but is it gonna start? Here we go. So we did put the shredded plastic in here, and then it heats it in there. You're gonna see we're just using it as like a way to heat it up and mix it, and then we're grabbing the actual plastic with the spatula, and then we shove it into the mold. So it's really like a hand molding sort of thing, but we made about 400 keychains. So there you can see the liquid plastic and pretty much just shoving it in. Oh, it's stalling again.
Very cool still. Very, very cool.
Yeah. And so what's interesting is that I learned, and we learned that for the second day, is in fact, we didn't even really need the injector for this whole thing. Like we could do the same thing with just the toaster oven and that little rubber mold. So literally for like $100, you can go ahead and be molding little things. So that's one thing I guess I encourage everyone, especially if you're just starting, is like don't feel that you need to go and build up all these machines and everything to get started. Like the way all these plastics work is you just need to heat them up to a temperature, and then they turn into a liquid, and you can form them into stuff. So like here, this is some I just did with the toaster oven and a spatula yesterday. This was like a Lego brick that we had molded in, and that was, and so there you can see kind of the excess flashing. That was like the overshot, and more of the Adidas one. This was kind of a bad shot of it. Didn't come out so good, but you can just keep like if this one didn't work out good, I can go ahead and just put this back in the toaster oven, melt it again, and then try it again. Like sometimes we do it like 5 times in order to try and get a good one.
How many times have you found you can like mix colors before they get really funky and like maybe turn brownish or not a so attractive color?
I don't know. We didn't. I mean, it just keeps changing the color. So like, I mean, this one was like, I think this was the first or second shot, and that's the same mix as like this one. So as it got like a little darker, I guess, as you went further. I don't know. I mean, the thing is you always kind of keep adding new colors in, and so yeah, it's. I mean, obviously everything's gonna go toward a brownish gray as you do more and more of them, but just turn that into black, and then the other stuff you keep as sort of colors.
Very awesome.
So that's kind of what we learned there. I mean, the other thing, I guess I could talk a little bit about the injector. Just go back to sharing there. So the injectors, this is where it started out, and we laser cut the things. I would say the hardest part of the injector is getting this, he calls the plunger, to slide inside the tube, because Dave is like, oh yeah, just get a seamless metal tube, one that doesn't have a seam in there. I contacted like 3 or 4 local metal shops. Not a single one of them, at least if you wanted it in steel, which is what is recommended, had a seamless tube. So we ended up with a stainless steel one. It did have a seam, but it wasn't that pronounced of a seam. So we ended up like machining a little bit like into the round rod. We machined a little bit of a flat so that it wasn't interfering with it. And then one of them we turned down, like the whole shaft was 1 inch, and we probably took off like 60,000, so show is a little bit under, so it would slide. But that's kind of the biggest challenge. Even one of our machines right now is like all clogged up, and I probably need to like heat up the whole thing and use a lot of force and figure that out. And then the other thing we realized is that this piece right here, especially when you're lifting the arm back up, takes a lot of force. So we actually bent that on both the machines. Let me see if I have a picture of it bent or not. Yeah, here you can see it's all bent. I guess it's not zoomed in that well, but this piece got all bent right here. So then I was like all worried, because that was after the first day, and I was like, oh, Adidas is gonna be pissed we don't have like the machines anymore. But I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to the hardware store, and I just found these are like Simpson ties that like are for big wood beams, and the bolt holes were pretty close, and so it was like, okay, that works. And it actually, I think, was better. And so now it's like, okay, instead of machining that part, which would have cost probably a bunch more, these are just $10 little plates from the hardware store. So that's kind of where we're at. But oh yeah, and again, we did do our shredding from here, and like here's a bunch of the plastic, but most of the plastic it was just more efficient to use our $300 paper shredder. So like this was a big box of, shredded paper, but we were able to do these cups and lids pretty well. We tried to do some regrind where like offshoot, like some of the stuff that was like didn't print well, we'd put back in the grinder, and I'd say 75% of the time it would stall our shredder. So it was kind of like, it was what it was. I guess here you can see. So we had to go buy this like pipe threader in order to thread, like Dave recommends, in order just using the MPT fittings. But this thing was like, it was like $250 to buy that. But we had a contract, so like, okay. But most people, if we're trying to do this all on a budget, that's what I know I've seen online, that people are kind of critical of Dave. They're like, oh yeah, you can make a shredder for $300, but you need $50,000 in equipment to do it. And that's kind of the challenge of this. It's like, if you have access to all the machine tools and the know-how to use them, then you can do it. But we had probably about 10 different people that were helping us with this build that had a variety of different expertise. And so part of our interest is to like see if we can help provide some of the things to others that they get stuck with, and as well as make recommendations. Like, I wouldn't recommend anyone go build a shredder first. I would say go buy a paper shredder, use that, and spend your time with the injector and compression machine or extrusion, because that's more just the necessary input. It's kind of fun, and it's the one you think you need first. But before you're putting all the time and money investment into something that's just going to create shredded plastic, start with the stuff that's actually going to build what you want to build. So that's what you need to decide first. Like, do you want to make bowls or tiles or little keychains? So pick that out, and then go for building the machine. But the other thing to realize is that all the fabrication machines are pretty slow. So you can't expect to be, because plastic needs to be heated up for a while, like anywhere from 15 minutes to like 2 hours is how long you need to have of heating up that plastic before it's going to be flowable to go into that form that you want it. And then you need to, if it's in a mold, you need to wait for the mold to cool down, because if you start pulling the part out of the mold while it's still hot, then the whole part's going to kind of deform. So they're not the most efficient processes, but what's cool, I mean, it is, I would say, still in general like an order of magnitude faster than what you can get from a 3D printer. And we're hoping to come up with ways, like I'd like to be able to inject something and get a part out every minute or two, something like that. Which,
or
we
What
think
about like an injector that's say filling like 3 tubes at the same time, like to make 3 pieces of lumber? Is that
yeah, you can definitely do that. And that's usually when you design a mold, usually you'll design it so it has a bunch of the same parts in there. So I can show you, I know this was just off the Precious Plastic site, but it's kind of interesting to see some of the.
and also just like a comment to everyone, I think lumber is a good thing to focus on because some of those lumber pieces out there are retailing for like $50+. You know, if you want to have money to fund, you know, keeping doing something like this, it might be something good to look at.
When you're talking about lumber, sorry, I was out.
Plastic lumber.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I'll just show you. So this is like a mold. I think this was by Rice and Carey. They're in like somewhere in Southeast Asia. So they made like a 2-part. So this had like 2 little, I think those are little poles for a backpack. So they put 2 of them, and here's 2 little utensils. This isn't stuff I made. This is just things that I was showing. But yeah, as far as what, Gaia, what you were just saying about lumber, we haven't made an extrusion yet, but I've been researching into that too, just through the Precious Plastic site. And what I've found so far, similarly, it's a very slow process that you essentially put like square around tubing on the end of the extruder here, and then push it out. And for like an 8-foot long piece, it might take a few hours to get.
Wow.
Bubbles too if you don't put enough force in it. I saw a video that does that.
Yeah, so it's, you know, I think it's good at making things accessible and allowing you to do it, but a lot of this stuff isn't that efficient yet, and that's what hopefully I'm really interested to work with the community, and we can all figure out ways to do that. Like essentially this needing to heat up the plastic every time is a big inefficiency. So if you could have a heated hopper, so you have like, okay, I'm going to put a bunch of plastic into a metal box with heaters, and that's my supply, then I just have to keep that pipe that's flowing to my machine heated. You're going to be able to eliminate that need for the preheating.
Yeah, I've thought about that one, and then you got the EPA going to jump in too when you start getting a big hopper of plastic warming and creating the gases. So
yeah, I need to call.
It's a really hard one there.
Yeah, you're not. So I mean, it's. I've been trying to research in terms of like how bad it is for the air and the environment. I mean, I definitely know. So we were doing polystyrene, polypropylene, like
yeah.
It was smelly, and you know, a couple of my team were like, "Oh, I have a headache today," you know. So it's not something we want to be, you know, sniffing a lot. We're definitely from now on going to be using, you know, respirators when we're doing it, or have like a hood with a duct that'll pull the air up, you know, a ways from where everyone is. But I mean, Dave, or if you look at the documented stuff online, it's mostly saying that, well, when it's in a liquid state, it's not dangerous. It's not till you've, you know, burnt it. That's what's really bad for greenhouse gas emissions and toxic. But from smelling it and inhaling it, you know, maybe we were running it at a little too high a temperature, but
there's also inks and stuff involved on the outside of the cups and such.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say use ventilation and yeah, that's a concern. I have a friend who works for the EPA, so I actually need to talk to him about some of this stuff. See, I don't want to raise a red flag, but
that was a really good point. I was curious about that myself. Before I found a YouTube video that showed this sort of mechanical shredder thing, I was trying to figure out how would you melt down your own plastic, and then I was thinking, well, how do recycling companies do it? And in the end, it just sounded like even though they're recycling plastic, so much of that is getting released into the air, like, you know, China recycling facilities, and, you know, they're just cranking it out. And that kind of surprised me to think, well, if you're supposed to be recycling and, you know, conserving and hopefully being ecologically sound, I'm curious how to do that. And just to put that to another point.
Well, so if you have proper ventilation, because like I previously was in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, which had real strict air quality standards, and LA is even stricter. And so I've been a little involved with that. And they're usually called like scrubbers. And that's something that, so you could have like ventilation that's pulling things in, and it's essentially some type of filter that takes out the toxins, and it all absorbs into those
like a carbon filter.
Yeah.
Okay, that you would throw away later, but it catches it all, doesn't release it into the air or something.
Yeah. So those, you know, you're still going to create waste, but then it's not going to go into the air. So, I mean, in general, as the more I've dug into this, it's like, I want to use precious plastic to teach people not to use plastics. You know, it's like, show them what can be done and how it can be recycled. But I feel like either we want to pull all the plastic garbage and waste and just build a big building somewhere, or build a wall or something.
Oh, no.
A wall with doors in it, you know. But that's
hold on, we're gonna have Trump jumping on this idea.
Right, seriously.
But that's just something that's there like permanently, that is, because right now, okay, great, we're going to give one more life to plastic, but if it's still only going to go get recycled at the 10% recycling rate at the end of its life, you know, we didn't solve the problem, we delayed it.
So a couple things I was thinking about was, if maybe somebody already brought this up when my phone died, but I was trying to figure out, okay, for instance, every week I have probably 2 to maybe 3 full recycling bins. And it's all this usable plastic, and, you know, I want to do something with it. I don't know what. And, you know, I'm talking to you guys now, but I was curious if there's some sort of product out there that's trying to think about this. Like, you have washers and dryers and dishwashers and this and that. If there was another household appliance that was normal for everyone to just have in their house. So instead of like kicking out the recycling, if they even do recycle, kicking out the recycling, and then it goes to the recycling plant, and then they make the money off it and shoot it back out. Either you could, you know, work down your plastic into bricks and sell that raw plastic, or you can create your own stuff like you guys are talking about now.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's ideally what you want to do. I think the challenge is that the equipment that's needed, as well as the air ventilation and all those things, don't make sense to go on at each individual's home. I mean, if we could all create, like, you could have shredding, like everyone could have shredding at their home, and that makes it much more compact to transport. And maybe you can get people to still pre-sort before it's shredded, but then you might want more of a combined place to do it. I mean, theoretically, you could make it for each one, but
I mean, like if it was tall, you have a shredding section and like your filter section on top, and it's all contained within one unit. Just to let you guys know, I'm a programmer and a product designer. So if you guys,
so the expensive part is the molds. That's what takes a lot of skill and know-how. And so if you're only making one thing, like if you're just like, okay, we're turning it into a standard brick-sized brick, that would be easy to make a machine for. But if you want it to be a plate and then a cup and then a utensil and then a beam and all these things,
different molds,
that's when it's difficult. I mean, I do have this idea of like Netflix for molds, like back when.
I was just gonna say that, like a molds exchange program.
Yeah, because it's like if I make a mold, like say I make a mold for an iPhone case, like I'm gonna go do a run of them and I'll make a couple hundred or something and try and sell them, but then it's gonna just sit on my shelf. But if you guys have an injector as well, sure, I'll send it to you.
That's brilliant, man.
Keep them at I wonder if you could keep them at the libraries or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, so if everybody has similar machines and it's all compatible, because the thing is,
Cartridge.
yeah, that you could damage, like someone could either get stuff clogged in there if they use the wrong material and damage it. And so this like that iPhone case that someone made, I don't know how much it cost them. I mean, they probably did it themselves, but if you send that out to a shop, my guess is that would cost like $5,000 to $10,000 to get that mold made. So it's not like a cheap mold. If you're just making a mold for like a little hexagonal tile, that's probably like $200. So.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'd like to chime in on the whole household appliance idea. I think that that's a good idea. I'm sort of, with my background with environmental conservation education, I see huge centralized systems as a problem. They're part of the problem, because when you have huge centralized systems, you do produce huge amounts of waste, and you do end up having huge, like, toxic areas a lot of time. Because even with all the regulations we have, businesses, they always look for loopholes, for ways to slither around the regulations and try to, just go for their bottom line. So I think that, small scale systems are really a solution for, for the emerging world. That's how we need to think in, like, small scale, water collection, small scale recycling, a food garden in everybody's backyard. Like, that's how we have to think for the future. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like the challenges is when you go to like a consumer and individual level, you need to make it much more foolproof, because most people, if they go buy something that's, more of a DIY hobbyist level, they're going to get stuck on it. They're going to get frustrated. They'll give bad reviews, and they're not going to sell anymore. So you either need to make it so it has such a great user experience and isn't going to clog, and, have maintenance, or,
If anyone has venture capitalist contacts, I'll make 3D renderings.
Yeah.
How the iPhone was like something, or a smartphone was something that was difficult to use at first, but then like Apple stores had classes or like iPhone orientations or something, and people got a hang of it. So this could be the same kind of thing where we have like, every county or something has like a workshop where you can go learn how to use your appliance, and you can turn there for repairs, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what's awesome about this project. I mean, already, Dave's released kind of his third iteration here now. And so if community, like say our group here, that we all go, all right, we want to create this appliance, and we show him how to do it, then he can put that out there, and someone in China or Netherlands or wherever can keep building off it. That's the hope, so that we don't each need to develop it, as long as we're all sharing our progress and such. I know, Emma, you just joined. I wanted to maybe let you introduce yourself. I know you're you just got your shredder working, right? Oh wait, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Awesome. Yeah, I am working with Justin Carvin. You might have seen him on the page advertising that he's selling the shredders. That he lives close to me. I'm from Portland, Oregon. So yeah, we got the shredders up and running. We're building a couple sets, and I'm gonna build an extruder too. And Justin's working on an injection machine. So, and there's another guy in town, Sam Smith, that has a shredder also, and he's like trying to build this crazy 3D printer that runs directly off the shredder, and it's nutty. So
I'm curious about that.
Yeah, just starting. Yeah, so we're just starting to get into it. But yeah, hopefully we'll be up and running soon and making stuff.
Yeah, and so what's your goal, or what's kind of the group that you've formed, or how did you fund it, or those kinds of things for?
I've got a GoFundMe going right now for the parts, and Justin's labor doing the welding and the grinding and the technical stuff. So that's how I'm raising money for it. There's people in Portland are like notoriously wishy-washy and will never partner with you on anything. So still working on partnerships, and hopefully we'll get some stuff. I got a few leads, but it's just starting, so I don't have anything yet.
So are you trying to form a business around it, or what's kind of your goal once you have this up and running?
I'm kind of keeping it open right now if I'm going to, go business and try to do production, or keep it more like nonprofit. I'm not exactly sure yet. I'm kind of waiting to see what the machines can do because, I don't know how difficult it's going to be or how much time everything's going to take. And so I'm just kind of staying flexible right now. I want to get the extruder going and start making stuff and then kind of figure out where to go from there.
So what's been your experience? Now, you said you just had the shredder, or did you have an injector too?
The shredder is done and working, but the extruder is still being built right now. So we're not, can't make anything yet.
Yeah, shredded plastic.
Yeah, exactly.
I did make a recommend. So most the other people or everyone else on here is kind of interested but hasn't started building anything yet. But we built a shredder and injector, and based on spending all the time we did and learning about it, so far I recommend it to everyone else. Initially, just use a paper shredder to shred the plastic and, and build the other machine, because that's like what's going to actually form it. And then once you're like want to make thicker plastic stuff and do more things, then you could go for building the shredder. But it's like, for us, we kind of saw it as a rite of passage to like build all these precious plastic machines. But now once we have it built, we're kind of still just using our paper shredder because it's easier.
That's funny.
I mean, the paper shredders are made to shred CDs and credit cards. And if you get the ones that are like, there's like 40, we have a 18-page paper shredder, which is pretty thick, but there's like 40-page paper shredders that are still just a few $100s.
So you could shred like a milk bottle cap? Like a milk cap, like one of those blue ones or red ones?
We haven't tried the bottle. So you have to like cut open the opening, because obviously they've like designed it so that someone can't stick their hand in there. But that was one thing we're thinking of doing, is just take out that like the shredding module and the motor and like put a whole hopper and stuff like that on there, because those have been designed to do shredding. There's, I don't know, for how many years have paper shredders been around? They're in every office. So.
Hey guys, I got a jet here pretty soon. I was just curious if two things. Is there like a forum or a Slack or something where everyone's going to keep in touch?
So we mostly connected through, there's a Facebook group that's Precious Plastic USA.
Yeah, that was actually harder for me to find than I thought it would be.
Okay. We've created for Precious Plastic,
like a Twitter.
For Precious Plastic LA, we've created a Slack group. I don't know if it makes sense to have a US Slack one too. I don't know. Emma, do you have a Slack or anything? Or what are you using to communicate with your teams?
Well, it's just me and Justin, so.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there's a Slack.
I don't have anyone. I would be willing to make one though, and maybe just the people who get on the conference calls, or maybe on the group we could add in and try to keep it limited to people who are actually working on stuff. Maybe we could do it by state or something.
Yeah, well, what's good about a Slack group is you can create channels. So there could be like Precious Plastic USA, but then there can be within there a channel that's Oregon or a channel that's Los Angeles.
Yep.
I think
Totally.
It's kind of cool to have like a Slack USA. It seems like there's so many people that are just like learning about it and interested. And even today, there were so many people that we never saw or talked to, and just calling in and just interested and just trying to get on the boat. I think it could be kind of cool to see what Emma is doing, what Xander is going to be doing, and just to see where everybody is at. And I think that also kind of inspires everyone else, to see like, oh, he's working on it. I want to jump on it too, or anyone has questions, could be kind of cool.
Exactly. I'd like to be able to post some questions, or like, I was wondering if there was chemical engineers in this group at all or anything like that. And so if I wanted to say something random, or if I do a rendering or something, it'd be cool to be able to ping off people who actually care about it, which is this group. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I know Precious Plastic would like it to go on their forums and website, but I feel like it's not, it doesn't have the kind of like speed of a Slack or even a Facebook group, but I prefer Slack in general.
Do you have the link to the Slack? I just started searching for it.
Yeah. Well, so right now, like I said, we just did a Precious Plastic LA, so we might want to create a Precious Plastic USA. Where did you say you are again?
I'm in Malibu. I missed the LA event only because I couldn't find the event in time. I was looking on Meetup and everywhere else.
Oh, really? Here, but I'll go ahead and invite, and I can invite anyone who wants to be on. I mean, obviously you don't have to be in LA to be on this if you want.
Do me one of those, please. I'd like one of those invites.
If you want to, do you guys want to just put your email in chat, and then I can go ahead and go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
I can start a Slack for the USA group. I don't know if it might be hard to admin it though. Probably need a couple people willing to look at it.
Yeah, I'm happy to help admin it. I mean, I can organize it, or if you want to, either one. I mean, we could probably realistically even like just expand our Precious Plastic LA one into a US, but
yes, sure, whatever you think.
I mean, have you set up Slack before, Emma?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you want to, I'm happy to not take on more things. That I'll be happy to admin it with you, but if you want to go ahead and like set it up, and then we can share it with our groups. And I mean, what might be worth it though is maybe we should first post on the Precious Plastic website to see if some other people already have Slack channels running, and obviously if there's like, Precious Plastic International, then we might prefer to just go in there, because there's not really a reason that we need to narrow ourselves to just the US.
I noticed that there's a Precious Plastic MX for Mexico in Twitter. I wouldn't mind making an LA version, because for me, oftentimes that's where I've been seeing a lot of like local meetups and stuff is just being posted on Twitter. That's kind of my avenue to get here.
Okay.
But I wouldn't mind.
I don't think I created a Twitter yet. I did an Instagram. So we have Facebook, Instagram. I just hadn't.
Gotcha.
Marcus, will you still post all the same stuff on the Facebook page?
Yes, please.
Yeah. You're saying as Slack or as Instagram and Twitter?
Just like whatever updates, will you still post all the same stuff on Facebook?
I mean, I think that the thing is that Slack is like much more of a kind of dynamic tool. So I feel like probably more the major updates would go onto Facebook. I mean, like we have so many little conversations going on, and you're not going to copy everything over to Facebook.
Okay.
Hey, can I ask a question? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
This is Jenna from earlier. So I'm like not on my computer anymore. So could one of you just like take down my phone number, and then you could text me, and then I will give you my email, and we can stay in touch that way?
Or if you want to just tell me your email right now, I'm typing them all in.
Okay, awesome. JESTECKEL@gmail.
JESTKEL@gmail.
That's why it might be just better to text me, because you can see my phone number written down.
Okay. Yeah, I'll text you. Let me write it.
Okay, thanks. You can see it's 203-216-4789.
Okay. Yeah, I got that. I'll send it right after.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. Thank you.
I gotta run, everybody. So I'll catch you all later. It's great meeting up with y'all.
Okay. Yeah. We'll,
Yeah, you too.
so we'll all be in
Have a
touch.
nice day, everyone.
You too.
Okay, so I'm just putting those ones in ours for now. So
While you're doing that, what I was talking about earlier, actually, you know what? Two things. One thing I noticed that really it's the back smacked me in the face was a couple weeks ago I got to go sailing, and I haven't been able to do that yet, but I got to go sailing and went on a sailing trip to Catalina Island, and that's only like 25 miles from LA, to get there. And it was like a 5-hour trip, and no joke, it wasn't like mile markers or half mile markers. It was probably like third mile markers. You would see floating plastic every third mile just in the ocean. Most of them were birthday balloons and Mylar and things like that. And it was kind of mind-boggling just how much garbage was floating in that small distance. And
it's crazy, and we don't. The West Coast, we don't actually have it as bad as the East Coast. So I hear that because of the ocean currents, it's like way worse on the East Coast. And in the U.S., everything's cleaned up more as well than, other countries too. So.
You guys have heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, right?
The Garbage Island, yeah.
Well, it's not an island. It's now the size of the 48 states. It was just the size of just 2 Texases a few years ago. Now it's the size of 48 states.
Well, and in fact, like what I just learned more so actually even this past weekend at the art installation I went to, that the ocean is so packed with like microplastic particles. It's like from everyone who washes their clothes and the little fibers come off to even, tires and shoes and everything, all the little particulates that get created. And they just keep breaking down to be smaller and smaller. They never disappear. And so it's like you might have this crystal clear blue ocean water, but it's filled with the little tiny plastic particulates.
Yeah, and a lot of things that eat plankton, they think that this particulate matter is plankton and they consume it. So it's actually breaking down the food web from the bottom up.
It's made me not want to eat any seafood anymore.
Right. Or just drink water.
Yeah, and then the plastic bags, like the kind of whitish, opalescent plastic. Sea turtles think that it's jellyfish, so they eat that, and then they're dying. And in turn, the orcas don't have enough sea turtles to eat, so it's a mad loop. You just got to start reducing, not just recycling. So this kind of brings me back to the 10% reduction, Marcus, that you were talking about earlier. I think part of the project has to be, educating people about how we need to rethink, reduce, reuse, all those R's. I think you were talking about, Corey, about how you have so much plastic that's gathering. So like one of the things I'm doing with my plastics is anything that's sort of shaped like a tray, I'm making that into a tray for all my seedlings I'm sprouting right now. All my little, well, I don't really buy plastic bottles, but all the ones that I find, like the 16 or 20 ounces, they're going to be planters for my baby sunflowers. So just repurposing, like that's what I'm focusing right now with my own junk.
Yeah, it's like refuse is the best, like don't use it, but then repurpose is the second best, and then recycle. Because it's like if you have a perfect, like here was like a little tub. I'm like, I'm going to use this for colored shredded plastic. Like, I don't want to go shred this up and have to turn it back into a container. Let's just use it as it is.
Yeah, that's a cat bowl for me, the bottom of that. The top of it, maybe a tray for like a really small baby plant until it starts, maybe getting more water. Then the bottom of it would become the plant tray.
Yeah, and we've been trying to, right now it's kind of indirect, but with something that we wanted to do is come up with a list of like brands and stores and restaurants. I know that Surfrider's already done it some for restaurants, but ones that okay, so instead of getting hummus from this company who provides it in plastic, who has a supply chain or, provides it in something that is more sustainable, those types of things.
Is somebody selling hummus in glass? Or like what would be more sustainable for hummus?
Yeah, if it was in glass, even aluminum, like a can would be more sustainable.
Well, there's I don't remember exactly the details on it, but aluminum has it's not good to eat food out of aluminum.
Yeah, well, it's just metals are much easier to recycle, and a much higher percentage gets recycled. So that's kind of the difference there.
Yeah, there's some studies coming out now where people with Alzheimer's, they're finding a lot of aluminum in their brains.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, the best is to have your own farm in your backyard and just eat off that.
Yeah, working on it. I've kept an organic food garden for 5 summers now, so it's living on 6.
Yeah, so that's kind of convince people to consume locally and farmers markets and all those kinds of things.
Where are all you guys? I missed the beginning of the call. Where are you guys all from? Marcus, you're in LA, right? And,
yes.
Corey, you're in Malibu. Where's everyone else from?
I'm in Missouri, Rolla, Missouri.
Jasmine's on here too. She's also in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm also in LA. Sorry.
Yeah, and then Xander's in Oregon, and Harold A. Biala is a new one. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself. If they're listening.
No, I think Harold was saying that he was at the event with you.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he's LA too. So I guess we managed to connect a lot of LA people here. But there was
good.
Matt from Nashville was on, and I guess that was all of them for now. So
cool. Maybe
next time I'll have to. I know that people are asking to do more of a poll of when's a good time, and I was like, you know what? We probably don't want that. If we have too many people on at once, then we don't really get to have this kind of discussion. So maybe more different ones going on.
Sorry.
I just had a question. If any of you have thought about sorting microplastics, if you've come across anything, like say if you were able to get like a bunch of microplastics from like a sea bin or some other sort of collection, like how would you sort those in, how would you sort that stuff so that it doesn't just become an unrecyclable brick when you recycle it?
You probably have to use a centrifuge, right? For a centrifuge, like something that spins and it will layer it all by different densities and hopefully at least somewhat by different types.
Kind of like a recycling. Well, one thing I was curious about was with like a chemical engineer or somebody who has that knowledge, is some of these plastics can be melted down, but I'm wondering if there's some sort of way to use a chemical, like, I'm out of my knowledge here, but like an enzyme or something that causes a reaction to help make the plastic more pliable or to mix together better or those sorts of things. That's something I'm curious about.
Yeah, it would be nice it seems like I'm an ecologist, so I don't know anything about chemicals, but it'd be nice to know. There were a couple of people on the forum claiming they were like chemical engineers or whatever, but I haven't seen a whole lot from them, but maybe we'll find someone who's interested.
I'm a mechanical engineer who's got into materials through desperation, but I know I've worked with both a lot of the materials companies, but as well as some real experienced materials people. Cool. And I still have access to them. So if we have like specific questions or some of them are retired and just kind of looking for something interesting to do. So they're happy to help if there's specific questions we have.
I do. I have one.
But,
As far as my search is going so far, there's not a whole lot of plastics manufacturers that are buying post-consumer recycled plastic, like the pellets, the post-shredder pellets. Because, with making your own stuff, it is very time-consuming, and to heat the plastic, then wait for it to cool off to use the mold again. So I'm thinking, if we can at least collect and shred and pass it on to bigger manufacturers, that would still be a positive impact. But I'm not finding a whole lot of those who would buy it.
Yeah, so I was actually talking to a consultant that I had met at the Adidas event. They actually helped Adidas with the Parlay shoes. He was telling me about Envision Plastics, ENVISION, and then Yem and Hart. They were two that were doing some, which is YEMM and HART. And then MBA Polymers is like a big one that's been around for like 20 years or something. Like their founder, Mike something.
So did you say M or N?
MBA, like a Master's in Business Administration. Those are kind of some big ones that are essentially making recycled plastic resins, but they don't seem like, most manufacturers don't know about them. I think they've carved out these like little niches where they're working, that they're not trying to get like, all the plastic bottles made out of their stuff or that type of thing.
Maybe we should start talking directly to plastic lumber manufacturers and see if we can like cut out the middleman, and just ship to them directly the shredded the pellets.
Yeah, that would be interesting to know. Like what quantity do we need to? What's the minimum quantity they'll accept? Is it like they want to buy 5 tons is the minimum, and then we have to figure out where we can store that? And then in terms of cleanliness, I think that's the big thing about recycled plastic is like, how pure is it that it's just one plastic, and then how clean is it? Is there food remnants in it or other garbage? And that's what is important to them. And I don't know.
What about labels on the plastic, like the stickers? Is that generally removed with most of these projects, like before you shred?
Yeah, you need to.
Usually like washed off or whatever.
Yeah, and it's not easy. Like actually this one, at first I was like, oh, maybe I will, because I molded a couple things yesterday, I'd do it, but like getting this label off was just not easy. So then I was like, oh, I'll just reuse it instead. So that's definitely a challenge to make it, getting the labels off.
So that's a question for the chemical engineers. What kind of solution that's like not toxic can we use to dissolve the glue?
Usually it's toxic. that's the reality of it. That it's like toluene, hexane, ethyl acetate, isopropyl alcohol works sometimes, which is more inert, but usually that doesn't work nearly as well. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever used Goof Off. It's like something you can buy at the hardware store to get pieces off. And that's just like a mixture of all the horrible solvents.
One thing I was thinking about was, I guess, nowadays in certain more modernized recycling plants, they have computer vision that's doing sorting and things like that. And I haven't seen it yet, but I'd like to see it. Something that's like a Wall-E type robot that essentially goes through all the landfills and takes away all the recyclable materials that people never recycled. And that's pretty like straightforward when you can say this is plastic, this is paper, this is metal. For a computer, that sort of thing's a pretty straightforward deal. But
yeah, there are a few projects that are like bashing mix plastics into bricks. I'll put some links. Let me find them again. That are pretty cool. There's one, I think it's called.
Like even sorting the colors for the bricks, you know, like a lot of people are making these, you know, these molds and whatever, and then they have these multicolored plastics. Whether that's through a chemical thing or through just mechanical sorting, I'm curious how you could do that, and that relates to sort of what you were saying, Guy, about different plastic types and stuff.
Yeah, so here I'll put this link here. This one, I don't even know where this guy. Oh, he's in Haiti, but yeah, he just like essentially he's making like housing bricks of just all the mixed plastic, and just he's not like fully melting it down like the precious plastic machines do. It's like he just heats it up a little on the outside and like kind of melts the outside to fuse it together, and uses that more as in like you'd still put drywall and stuff around it, but kind of fills that sort of stuff out. And there was another one. There's someone who's made more of a machine for that. Let me find what that one is too. That's pretty cool.
It'd be cool if you could like almost inch out the recycling companies somehow, you know, and like become a company that picks up people's plastics, and then you know, then you monetize that.
Well, for better or worse, in LA, they've kind of franchised all of it into like Recycla. It's like one thing, and if you're buying people's recycled stuff, they're gonna like go get on you and give you fines and stuff. It means that there is a central place to like buy recycled things if you're kind of at that level, but
sounds disruptible then to me.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Interesting.
Part of why I don't like big systems.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I understood that with the centralization thing.
Yeah, well, what it did do is in LA, there was like a lot of people actually didn't have recycling. So it now made it so everybody had recycling, and it took a lot of the garbage trucks off the road. So that's the reason it's a good thing, because you used to be able to just like sign up with a bunch of different waste haulers. And so it wasn't like they were going house to house each day. It was like they would pick up at every fourth house, and, you know, they had this convoluted route. So it was just like so much more fuel being consumed for that. So
I feel like it almost makes you a miner. Like you're just getting one resource and just constantly mining it almost.
What we wanted to do is like work with organizations or schools, and like you go teach them about recycling, like, you know, either bring the precious plastic machines or at least kind of show some videos and show them what it can do. Tell them, okay, we're going to have a recycling day in 30 days from now. Can you all bring your sorted clean plastic? So here's, we're going to use polypropylene and polystyrene. So for the next 30 days, kids could even have like a competition. Who brings the most?
I mean, you can make your own Legos for sure.
Yeah, well, that's what we.
Oh, you did? That's hilarious. That's awesome.
The mold didn't have the back.
That is awesome.
It's probably illegal, but similarly.
Very interesting. Okay, well, I gotta get going, you guys. It was really nice to talk to you all. And I'm hoping to stay in touch. So I'll check out that Slack if you send me an invite or whatever, and I'll try to stay active on there.
Yeah, we're probably gonna try and have a like building recycle day, I would say, in like 2 weeks.
Okay.
I want to get a mold made, and we have a little more fixings on the machine to do, and then we'll probably ask people to bring some of their plastics, and we'll just try and mess around and build some stuff to get everyone back together here in LA. So
that sounds good. All right, thanks guys. It was really nice talking.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
So Marcus, does your organization have nonprofit status?
No, not yet. Like I said, there's no official organization. I've just been calling it Precious Plastic LA, and like like Parlay had contracted us to build the machines, and I just was doing that as like an independent consultant. You know, they wrote the check to me and I paid all the other people and vendors. I need to set it up. I wanted to make sure there was enough momentum and money there before, because I think to do a nonprofit right probably takes about $2,000.
Well, there is a nonprofit wizard out there. I can send you the link to it later. I don't have it on hand right now.
Yeah.
But they do save you a bit of money, and for their express, it's like $670 or something.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know you can use like LegalZoom or BizFiling, some of those ones, but I just went, the last company I set up, it was a C corporation, and first I did it on bizfilings.com, and then once I actually got a lawyer, the lawyer's like essentially had to dissolve that corporation and redo it. So it was like wasted time and money, and I had to pay that new lawyer. So it's like just gonna want to get a real lawyer to do it.
Well, why I'm considering to do nonprofit status for the project here is my idea was to ask for tax deductible donations, like, you know, shops or whatever, like they're all businesses and they all pay taxes. But if say a shop could donate, like say like the grinder part of the shredder, or something like that, and if they could write it off, like that might be a way to sort of like piece resources together.
Oh yeah, I agree that a nonprofit is going to be the best kind of format to get donations and such. I just never set one up and didn't.
Me either. I'm just learning.
didn't feel like fronting the money until like I knew there was enough going on. So I think, as I mentioned, I think we're gonna have this contract with Jaden Smith, and that'll get us some stuff. Wow. Yeah, I went by his office this morning. It was pretty cool.
What?
Yeah. He's like super excited about Precious Plastic, like, and literally like, he wants to like help the whole community work well. So it's
that's
like
really cool. Because
yes.
Another point I wanted to make is it's time to make recycling hip and cool. And who better than Jaden Smith to do it? Because, you know, I feel that if we're just going to be like, oh, well, that's just like the people who are so worried about the environment, they're doing it. But if we can market it as a cool thing to do.
I mean, go on his Instagram and like you'll see he's posted some stuff about Precious Plastic lately. Like definitely, Emma, like maybe you want to just shout out to him, be like, hey, I heard you like Precious Plastic. You know, we're building it up here in Oregon. And like, cause I told him like about, so one of the guys that's in San Diego we work with makes these like out of recycled plastic. This is like a little body surfing handboard. And I was just like, yeah, it's Unnatural Surf Products is who it was. And then like 2 hours after I got back from the meeting, I had a call from the guy from here. He's like, yes, so I just had a call from, you know, Just is like his water company that like made out of like recycled paper and plastic as bottles. But he's just like super jazzed and motivated around sustainability in this project. So he does want to kind of support it in any ways he can. And like at this point, he's like, he wants to get just his hands on as many like things made with precious plastic as he can. So that's why I made some of these last night just in my toaster oven in our mold, that I was like, so I gave him like a handful of them when I was there. And right now he wants us to make 80 keychains for an event that starts next Thursday. And I'm like, please get me the order now, because I need to start moving on things. Otherwise I can't get it to you on time. So.
Wow, that's awesome. That's huge.
Yeah.
LA.
Oh,
Portland doesn't have those kind of connections.
Yeah,
a little
I know.
smaller here. Yeah, I'll definitely.
You're on the West Coast.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like in the middle of nowhere over here.
Missouri, right?
Yeah, our biggest town nearby is like 55,000 people in Rolla, and everything else around here is like 1,500, 2,000 people.
Now I just see he passed on the keychains.
Oh, okay.
Well, I because I need to get other people to work and such. I told them it was going to be $1,000 to get 80 keychains. I know that's obviously you could go get them from Virgin Plastic and such a lot cheaper, but in this short time frame, and
Yeah, trying to crank out that many. What were you saying about making one of your toaster ovens?
yeah. I can show you the pictures of what I was doing yesterday if you want to see it.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, what I figured out from we set this stuff up for this Adidas event a few weeks ago, and it ended up that we were making it in these silicone rubber molds. Here, I'll show you what they look like. This is the molds we used. That was the one for the and so this we took a 3D printed part and then created a part off that. And I think I have a picture of the toaster. So this was literally my setup: toaster oven, spatula, mold, and there you can see some scrap plastic over there. And it's just taking the plastic. This was straight off. I didn't have my shredder at home, so I just used my paper shredder. Oh, that's my little guy. So it's literally just like pressing it in there, and then it leaves all this extra flashing. That's from the top view. Where that's what it would look like from the bottom. Just kind of jammed all together. So that's
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I put it. This was polypropylene. I think all the other ones were polystyrene, and just put the temp at like 350, to 400, and let it melt for 10 minutes, and then it is kind of like this slime, and you can just do whatever you want with it.
That's awesome.
So is there no way to like measure one of those Legos or one of the keychains that you're making, like to weigh it and to know exactly how many grams of plastic you need to like load into?
I definitely could. I mean, I think it was about 3 to 4 plastic cups was what. I mean, there was waste because I couldn't exactly scoop I wasn't doing it with the cleanest processes and such. So.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because I've noticed with a lot of the videos and stuff, there's always stuff hanging off, and you have to, cut it and sand it and stuff. And now I'm just thinking more and more labor hours to produce every item. So I'm just trying to think what are the ways to cut labor.
Yeah.
So don't know yet. Okay, got it.
Yeah, no, I don't know, and yeah, everything could have been much more efficient. And if I was building 80 of these, I definitely would have refined the process. This was just like, okay, let me spend an hour so I have something to bring them.
Nice. Did you melt it just on the toaster tray, or did you melt it in another piece of silicone or something?
No, yeah, I just melted it on the tray. I had tried before putting it the plastic on top of the mold and pressing it in. I think it could, but I didn't want to mess up the mold. I feel like totally. Push it in there, so because we didn't have too many of the molds and I didn't want to remake those. So
have you seen that guy Zelenu? He's on the Bazaar. They're from Ukraine, and they have really nice looking bowls and cups and stuff on the Bazaar. I just ordered some stuff from him, and he makes all his stuff with the extruder, and it looks really nice and professional. And he was here it is. Here's some little soap dishes he made.
Yeah.
They're sweet. And he was telling me that he laser cuts a hard plastic mold, and then he just takes some hot plastic out of the extruder and presses it into the mold and has a little stamp on top to press it in. And he said it's basically the same method, except with the extruder heating up the plastic instead of the toaster. But yeah, pretty cool to make something with a toaster.
Right, exactly. So that's where it's like you can start super crude, and that's what I kind of recommend. Like, I feel like we would have learned a lot of just like toaster and paper shredder, or just melting stuff first before kind of diving in to make the machines. Obviously, I think it's good for everyone, but I think a lot of people get stalled from actually completing it because like the machines are pretty darn tough to make, and they actually require a decent amount of money, to do it. It's not the $300 that Dave alludes to. I mean, that's where, I just went ahead and put an injector on the Bazaar for $2,000 just to see if anyone's interested, because it seems like there's not a lot of people in the U.S. that are already making them. I know, who is it, Jason?
Justin, his name's Justin Carvin.
Okay. How much was your shredder from him? Will you share?
With the motor, about $1,000.
Oh, okay. So he did it real affordably.
Yeah, it was about, it was like, we bought 4 sets of parts, and he sold off 2 of them from BBC Steel, who was making the shredder blades, and that was like $200, and then the motor was expensive, and the gearbox was really expensive.
So that's without the motor and gearbox?
That's with the motor and gearbox.
Oh, okay. And in terms of the electronic controls you have, is it just like on off, or does it have like speed control and reverse?
Last time I talked to him, he was putting in a reverse switch, and then speed controls on the motor, and he was still messing with it. So I don't know what the final outcome is going to be.
Have you seen the machine yet, or it's just like he's showing you videos and stuff?
I've seen it in progress. He lives like right down the street from me, so I've seen it running, but not he wanted to add a few other electronic controls on it, so I haven't seen it totally done yet.
Okay. And does it need 3-phase power, or did he find a single-phase motor?
He's using a single-phase motor right now, just a single horsepower, and the gearbox is a monster. So hopefully that'll work. We haven't done a whole bunch of extensive testing with really thick plastic, but it shreds regular stuff, no problem.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, for us, it was like, I think we could make it for about that, but all this stuff is like, just wanted to make sure that it was worth everyone's time, and we, if we're having people doing different things, need to pay them. And
yeah, totally.
All that.
Yeah,
so that's great that he's doing it for that inexpensive. And if there's people that want them, I'll send them his way, because I can't pay for that.
Yeah, I think he has like a vegetable oil car conversion business, and so he's got like a lathe and a drill press and welding equipment and stuff like at his home shop. So that's why he can do it for so cheap, is because he can like do the hex bar and stuff just in his shop. Doesn't have to contract anything out, except for the laser cutting on the blades. So yeah, I think he's posting about advertising, making lots of shredder units for people. So yeah, definitely, I think send people his way.
Yeah. Again, I feel that the shredders, it kind of sounds cool, but even at the event, it was like, it wasn't the thing everyone was interested in. They wanted like it to be formed into stuff. So it's like the other machines
totally
are like the exciting part of it, because there's lots of ways to get something shredded.
Yeah, I'll definitely post once the extruder is working. It's kind of like a screw and a pipe right now. It's not a whole lot very completed, but I think he's going to start making those for people too if it's successful with the testing. So
okay, Well, that's good to hear. All right.
Are you gonna do another one of these? Should I like start a Slack or just wait until we do a couple other calls and get a list of emails or something?
Well, what I was saying, like I said, it might be worth just first putting a post on the Precious Plastics
Right.
site to see before, because like hate to just keep creating more and more Slack groups. It's tough to keep track of them all. But yeah, if you want to post there, and then if there isn't anything that really shows up, then I'd say just create one, and then I mean, we have, in the one I just shared, I don't know, there's like 10 or so people that are already in it, and I can let those, or at least the ones who are still interested, know about
Okay, I
it.
made myself a note. Yeah, I'll post and see if there's anything.
I love, for me, I mean, like video, you know, it's just so much better than Facebook and Slack to be able to dynamically ask people questions and actually like build a real relationship. So it's like, okay, cool. Hopefully we'll all be in the same place, or if I'm visiting Oregon next time, then it's like, oh, cool, let's, you know, hang out, or let me see your machines, or I can bring you a part that we made, or, you know, whatever. And I mean, it's all, as well as like, if like say a certain part of a machine that I've built that maybe I have the proper tool to do it, or it's easy to just build a handful of them instead of one, you know, to send those to each other and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's the nature of this as an open source project, is that we're all supposed to be sharing as much as possible. And obviously if there's expenses involved, we'd like to make sure those get covered, but we're not all trying to make a ton of money off each other. So.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe as we move along, once more people are ready to melt stuff, we could take a poll, like what do people want to make, and then maybe we could all pitch in on some molds that we can all use for like 2 weeks, and then you have to send it off to the next person.
Or we could, what might even be better is just like, if each person would make one mold and we just say what we have, and then we're like, okay, willing to trade or rent them out or something. Because I think figuring out a group ownership of everyone will be a little difficult, but I don't know. I mean, even within my group of LA, we're sorting all that out, and as well as trying to decide what the heck we want to make. Because a mold, like the simplest mold, like a square tile, would probably still cost us like $100 or $200, and if we want to make something a lot more involved, it goes well up from there.
So with tiles, are they pretty easy to scratch, or are they pretty durable?
They'll be, I think, pretty easy to scratch. I mean, again, it depends on the plastic. Some are harder than others. I think of them more as decorative tiles. So like what might be more of a black backsplash, or on walls, or like on furniture, stuff like that.
So no countertops or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen companies like Smile Plastics makes countertops. They're out of UK, and Yemen Heart makes countertops too. So there are ones doing it. Again, you just need to pick the plastics that are going to have that durability. I mean, to me, it seemed like that PLA, polystyrene are both pretty hard. Like HDPE would completely just have scratches all over the place. And I think even polypropylene, I think, can kind of scratch. But maybe, I mean, like polypropylene would be pretty durable, and it might get scratches, but there could be beauty in that too. I don't know. It's like, it's not going to completely wear through. It's still a pretty hard plastic. So.
Or maybe there's some kind of coating that can be applied because you know that one thing that looks like a geode on the Precious Plastic website,
Geode.
like a giant crystal, like a big amethyst and quartz crystal.
No, I don't. Let me see. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Is
Yeah,
it
not I use the
one,
wrong word, not a
one
geode.
with the one with the extruder? Is it like this one you're talking about?
No, it just really looks like a natural crystal.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I grabbed these are some pictures from Precious Plastic, but
It looks like an amethyst crystal. But anyway, so I was just thinking it would be cool to make maybe countertops that look like they're out of granite or crystal or something, but they're really out of
yeah.
plastic.
I mean, the challenge of like, yes, you can put coatings onto things, but then it makes it further unrecyclable. Like once you start mixing plastics and stuff.
That's cool.
And that's the other thing we're really going to try and do is like whenever we make anything else in the future is make sure we put the recycling logo on it.
Mhm.
Not that it's like this little thing necessarily going to get recycled, but then it has a better chance of it. That I think is a good practice for anyone doing precious plastic stuff so that
Okay.
we recognize that what we're going to make isn't going to be the ultimate, that plastic's going to last 500 more years, so it's probably not going to stay as whatever we turned it into for 500 years. So.
And also, like, it'd be good. This was a suggestion that was made to me to make items that can be repurposed. So, like, have part of the design, you know, have it shaped or whatever in a certain way to where it would serve another purpose if you wanted it to. I haven't really thought of what that would be like. Somebody else told me that some trophies, like, you know, school games trophies are being used as lampshades now.
Mm.
But those are made out of metal mostly. But yeah, that was a suggestion someone made to me, is like think of what it can also become before it gets melted again.
Yeah, definitely. Versatile.
Marcus, are you using like those steel metal stamps or anything to stamp your plastic? Like, I was trying to think about ordering a steel stamp for like stamping on metal tags. I thought would work well, but they're kind of expensive if you want to get a custom one. I was trying to think of what to like use to stamp like the recycling symbol and the plastic number or whatever into things.
we haven't done it yet, but yeah, I've wanted to get like essentially a brand. You can get a brand made, I think maybe like for $100 or $200, one that would have something custom on the end. Whoever's like, well, depending how small you want it, but like if you're okay with it being like a reasonable size, like maybe the brand being like the size of a quarter, you could probably get it done by the same person who's doing the laser cutting or water jetting of the shredder. That same tool, you could go ahead and put it on there, and then you just need to like get it welded onto like a little branding rod.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I was thinking about getting those like 10 number, and then there's like letter kits that are just like this tiny little steel rod, and then it has the number on the end. Have you seen those?
Yeah. Something. I mean, there's obviously pretty cheap things that could be done, and that I wouldn't even be. I bet you can find online already someone that has like the recycling logos that could just be little metal brands. If you find it, I'll search too. But if anyone finds it, definitely share that, because that would save us a lot of money and be useful.
Yeah.
There should be. If not, it's something that could use a reasonably high volume, or should get put on the Precious Plastic Bazaar, and like,
yeah,
it's like Dave should demand that everybody uses that if they're making anything out of plastic.
Yeah, totally.
You aren't allowed to use my designs unless you do this.
Yeah. Well, I gotta run. It was really good talking to you guys. I'll keep in touch about the Slack, and I'll post on the Facebook page and see where it goes. So
Okay. Yeah, and I recorded all this, so I'll just put it on the Facebook one too. I figured let others know what we discussed and, whatnot.
Nice meeting
sounds
you.
good.
Yeah, nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
nice meeting you.
I'm gonna get
Bye.
going too.
Okay.
Thanks for all the info. It's been
Oh,
good.
yeah.
I feel like I've learned.
Definitely. Yeah, feel free to reach out if you have any questions for me too. Happy to help you get off the ground.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay. All right.